Hello again, friends, and welcome back to Bantam Battles. Excuse me. Solo war games, RPGs, and tabletop sports with a small footprint. Robert Max here. This is log 24, I believe. And as you can see, we have Dawn of the Dead, the old, long out of print SPI game, which has been revived at a website called homepageofthedead.com. Where you can download the game in its entirety, the updated map, the updated counters, and also a PDF of the charts and tables for the game. All the counters for the start of the game have been placed where they need to go. We, of course, are playing the solo variant, and in the solo variant, the player controls the human characters. We got 4 of those. They're placed also where they should be at the start of the game. We'll take a look at them. First, we have here Roger. He's one of the SWAT team members. He's carrying an M16. You can see there are 3 numbers on the counter. The first is his shot value. Those are the number of times he can fire at a zombie in a turn. The second number is his panic level. Every time he shoots, he has to roll for panic before he shoots, and if he rolls that number or less, he panics and can't shoot or move. And then finally, the last number, in this case 20, is his movement allowance. Now, movement allowance is 1 movement point per square, but there are some modifiers like opening and closing doors, acquiring a hunting rifle, and other things like that. So there's Roger. We also have Peter. He's the other SWAT team member. There's Peter. And we have Steve, who is affectionately known as Flyboy, if you're familiar with the movie. We have Steve and Fran. You know, they are a couple. It's revealed in the movie that Fran is pregnant, and she is pregnant in this game. And as you can see, she has the lowest movement factor and the lowest shot value. So I have those 2 together here in this little maternity store. Roger and Peter are stationed in the 2 different theaters in the Twin Theater Cinema. And this, of course, is the Monroeville Mall, or a fictionalized version of the Monroeville Mall, excuse me, which is outside of Pittsburgh, George A. Romero's beloved Pittsburgh, if you know from the movie. This Dawn of the Dead takes place the same night as Night of the Living Dead, and it starts in Philadelphia, and all these people are there. They get in Flyboy's helicopter. He works for the television station as a helicopter pilot. Fran works as a producer or some assistant in the television studio. They meet up with Roger and Steve, who are SWAT team members. They get on a helicopter, fly west towards whatever, and just outside of Pittsburgh, they come across the Monroeville Mall, decide to stop and check it out, and think, hey, this is probably a good place to make our base or hole up. We can hole up in here. There's plenty of supplies, but you know the story. Okay, so the objective of the game in the solo variant, and there's quite a few of them, it's not going to be an easy task. That I will say. The objectives for the human player, and all of these must be met for victory conditions. There are 4 main doors: north, south, east, and west over here. Okay, all four main doors must be closed, and in fact, at the beginning of the game, all doors throughout the mall are open. That is both glass and solid doors. And there is a legend up here at the top left corner that tells you the difference between the solid and glass doors. So anyway, all 4 main doors must be closed. All zombies on the board must be eliminated. And over here in Edwin Sports Center, there are 2 hunting rifles. Steve and Fran must acquire a hunting rifle. So we got to close the main doors, and these can happen in any order. Close the main doors, eliminate all the zombies that are in the mall, and excuse me, every turn, more zombies can be added, you know, like regeneration mode, or more come in while the doors are open. Okay, so we got to eliminate all the zombies, and Fran and Steve have to acquire a hunting rifle. Now, if Fran or Steve happen to perish or become a zombie, then the requirement for the hunting rifle only applies to the character that's still alive. Now, another thing that can happen to the characters is that they can become stunned. We'll take a look at Roger here. Roger can become stunned, and if that happens, his counter is flipped over, and his movement ends. He can't shoot, can't move, and he remains stunned till the end of the turn. Another thing that can happen to the characters, and we'll look at, I believe, we'll look at Fran, is that they can become infected. If they become infected by a zombie attack, or as a result of a zombie attack, their counter is replaced with this infected counter. Of course, they can never become uninfected. And their movement, panic, and shot values, you know, of course, are lowered, modified due to the infected result. And once every turn, we roll to see if they turn into a zombie. And that would be on a roll of 2 or 12, you know, snake eyes or boxcars. If that happens, they become a super zombie. Now, a super zombie differs from other zombies in that it can move 3 squares. Regular zombies can only move 1. There's also another type of zombie, which is a Berserk zombie. And we'll get to that in the first turn to see if any zombie units go Berserk. Regular zombies can move 1 square. Berserk zombies can move 2 squares. Super zombies can move 3 squares. Only 1 zombie unit may occupy a square, except a super zombie can attach itself to another zombie unit, and they can move together. Excuse me. Okay, on the back side of these zombie counters are a strength value number. In other words, the size of that horde. You know, each counter does not represent an individual zombie in most cases. It represents a group, and the group size determines how hard, you know, it is to eliminate, and, you know, some other factors as well. So, my plan for this game, at least right now, is to have Roger come up this direction, try to eliminate as many zombie units that he can, and eventually get over to close this door. Peter to head to the south and do the same, while Steve and Fran, and well, also Peter's, after, you know, possibly closing this door, we want him to try to clear out this area so that Steve and Fran can eventually get over here and acquire their hunting rifles. And once they do that, if they do that, we'll work on eliminating the rest of the zombie units and closing the other 2 doors. That's the plan. It's not going to be easy, because as you're going to see, there are a lot of modifiers and a lot of things that happen during a turn. Now, another thing, the rules state that during the human player turn, any humans that move can't move in the next turn. So you're going to see what's going to happen is, as the human players move, open and close doors, take shots, it's going to cause zombies to also move in reaction. And we'll go through the turn sequence here. As you can see, there's a nice little sequence of play chart here, just to, you know, remind you of the sequence. There's really only 1 phase to the human player turn, and then the rest of it's the zombie player turn, which of course in this case is being controlled by the AI, which is a lot of dice rolls. Okay, so in the human player turn, the human players can move. If they haven't moved in the previous turn, they can open or close doors. They can take shots, and the only time they can shoot is if they're moving, or if a zombie attacks them, they can shoot in defense 1 time when the zombie enters their square. Okay, and that's it for the human turn. And then the rest of the turn sequence involves the AI doing different things with the zombies. So why don't we get started? And I'm not going to go through this whole game here. I'll play the first turn or two, and because it can be a very long game, I'll play the first few turns, and then after that, we'll end the video, and I'll be back. I'll finish the game off camera, and then we'll be back to do like an after-action report in another video. Okay, one other thing I need to mention. I did mention that Roger and Peter are carrying M16s. Steve and Fran are only carrying handguns at this point. So when Steve and Fran roll to shoot at a zombie, they only roll one die apiece. And they have to, their number has to be greater than or equal to the zombie value to eliminate it. So there are going to be some zombie units that they won't be able to eliminate until they get a hunting rifle over here in Edwin's sporting goods store. And that's because they only have one die, and some of these zombie units are greater than 6, okay? Roger and Peter, however, can roll 2 die because they're carrying an M16. And, you know, they add those 2 die together, they have a better chance of eliminating zombie units. If Roger and Peter are shooting together in the same square, in that one instance, they can roll 3 die. Excuse me again. Still getting over this cold or allergy thing that I had in the last video, so you have to excuse me. Okay, so for the game, I'm going to use the red die as the panic die, and that's another thing I have to mention that increases the difficulty of this game. Every time a human player shoots, they have to roll for panic. And if you remember when we looked at the counter, the middle number here for, we're looking at Roger, that's a 2. That's his panic value, or his panic level, I guess you'd say. And if he rolls a 2 or less, you know, equal to or less than, he panics. When he panics, his movement stops, he can't shoot, and he remains panicked until the end of the turn. So if he encounters a zombie and panics before he can shoot, he's stuck in the square with that zombie or adjacent to it until the next turn. And the zombie unit is going to have the opportunity to react to him by, you know, either moving into the same square or attacking him. Okay, so I mentioned my plan. So let's get started with that. Now, we can see we're going to move Roger this first turn. We can see that there is a zombie in this theater with him. But he doesn't have to shoot at it. He's not going to. He's not going to waste any movement points shooting at the zombie. But he is going to move over here into the theater lobby. He's going to have to try to get rid of the zombie here, because he's going to have to enter the square to get by him. Okay? So he moves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's used 5 movement points to get in that zombie square. Now he's going to roll for panic. We're going to use a red die, so anything greater than a 2, and he panics. Right off the bat, he panics. Okay, so that means he can't shoot, he can't move, he's stuck with this zombie unit. We haven't even revealed the strength of it yet. Peter's not going to move this turn. Steve is going to move, but he's only going to move 1 space, and he's going to close that glass door. So he has 16 movement points. He's used 1 to move. And to close the door, that takes 2 more movement points. But that's all he's going to use. And we'll put a closed marker. It's getting a little crowded here, but we'll put a closed marker on this door. Okay. So that's the end of the human turn for this first turn. Now you have what is called the zombie turn, and the first thing we do in the zombie turn, the first phase, is the Berserk zombie phase. And what the Berserk zombie phase is that one zombie unit is checked to see if it goes Berserk, and the way that's determined, it would be the one closest to a human player or a human character that has either moved, shot, or opened or closed the door. In this case, of course, it's going to be this zombie unit here because it's in the same square as Roger. Now, had Roger not moved, it would have been this zombie here that checks for to see if it goes berserk. Okay, so we'll use the red die for that as well. 4 or less, it becomes a berserk zombie. It's a 5, so it doesn't. Okay, so that's the first phase of the zombie player turn. Also in this phase, if there were other berserk units, you would roll to see if they stay berserk, and it would be the same thing. A 4 or less would they would stay berserk. If they rolled a 5 or a 6, like we just did here, there's a berserk. The berserk counter would be removed, and they would no longer be berserk. Okay, all right. So that's that phase. Now we have the zombie reaction movement phase. So any zombie that is within sight of someone who either moved, shot, or opened or closed the door will move in reaction towards that character. So if you remember, we had Roger come through here. So this zombie is going to move in reaction 1 square closer to where Roger is. So he moves there. The only other zombie in this first turn that would have a reaction move would be this zombie unit, but because it is in a square with the human player, it cannot move. It's, it's going to have to attack. Okay, so that's the end of the zombie reaction movement phase for this turn. Okay, the next phase is the free movement phase for zombies, and we roll a die and we get a 1. That tells us how many zombie units can move free movement. That in the 2-player game, that's of course up to the zombie player. In the 1-player game, it's basically another reaction move. And there's so the only condition is any zombie unit that moved in the reaction movement phase can't move in the free movement phase unless it's a super zombie. So we're going to move this one right there. Okay, so he's kind of blocking that hallway now. All right, that ends the free movement phase. Now we have the zombie attack phase, and of course we have 1 combat here. And now we're going to reveal the excuse me a moment, my camera's moving. Sorry about this. Have to get a better mount. There we go. Okay. We're going to reveal the zombie value of the unit there, and it's a 7. Okay. Now, this is one part of the rules that's a little unclear. It says that Roger can shoot. The only time you can shoot when you don't move is when you are being attacked by a zombie. But Roger's already panicked. It doesn't say, it says you have to check for panic. So I'm going to make the assumption that he can't shoot because he's already panicked and the turn hasn't ended yet. Had he not been panicked and just stopped in that square, like say he expended all of his movement points and had already fired 5 times and the zombie attacked him, then he could roll to check for panic. But he's still panicked for the current turn. So now the zombie unit's going to attack him, and we're going to refer to this chart here. The strength is 7, so we'll use this 7 and 8 column. We roll 2 die to see what happens to Roger. We roll an 8, and what happens in an 8? Roger is stunned. Now, what happens to a stunned character? Well, nothing good. He can't shoot. He can't move. He remains stunned until another player enters that square and kind of, wakes him up, shakes him out of it. He revives him, I guess you'd say. So my plans are going to have to change already because Roger is stunned in this square with this zombie unit. And well, we'll get to that when the turn's over. Okay, so that's the only attack we have in this turn. And now we have the zombie generation phase. And there are 2 parts to the zombie. Well, excuse me, no, there's only 1 part to the zombie generation phase. And we also consult a chart for this. We roll 2 die and look at chart 8.8, and it'll tell us if and where a zombie unit enters the game. So we roll the die, we roll a 6, and the 6 says north. So we take one of these extra zombie units down here. There are 50 zombie units in the game. 45 of them start on the board. I'm just going to take this first one, and it's going to enter the game at the north door. Okay, so that concludes the turn. All right, that's the end of the first turn. Now, turn 2, it's the human player's turn. Well, I was going to have Peter, go down there. Well, he doesn't see what's going on out here because he's behind these doors. But as soon as he comes out this door, he's going to see that Roger is under attack by a zombie unit. All right, so Peter's going to move this turn. Fran and Steve and Fran, I have no plans to move them as long as they're behind this closed door until we clear some areas out, because they don't have a lot of firepower and it's going to be difficult for them to fight on their own. I was hoping that Peter and Roger could, kind of clear a pathway for Steve and Fran to get over here and get these hunting rifles. But we're not there yet. So anyway, Peter's going to move now. He moves 1, 2, sees this, enters into this square. First thing he does is he unstuns Roger. And we already know that this has a zombie value of 7. He's going to attack the zombie unit right off the bat. So first he has to roll for panic. And he doesn't panic. He only has a panic. He's the calmest or bravest of the group. Peter will only panic on a roll of 1. So he doesn't panic. Now he gets to roll 2 die to try to eliminate the zombie unit. Whoop. He rolls a 5, so he doesn't. But he can shoot again, because he can shoot 5 times. So he has to check for panic each time he shoots. So he does panic check. His panic check is good. So he's shot once so far. He rolls a 9 and eliminates the zombie unit. Okay, so that just goes down here in the reserve pile. All right, so Roger can't move this turn. Peter has moved 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to continue on. Okay, Roger's good to go. He'll be able to do something next turn. So he's moved 4. He still has 16 movement factors to use. So he'll go back 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's going to attack this zombie unit here. Okay. First thing he does is roll for panic. He doesn't panic. And then we reveal the zombie strength, and it's a 1. So this is a small zombie unit, but he gets to roll 2 die. Of course, it's going to be eliminated. Okay. So that's where he that's where he stands. So let's see. He moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now he's going to head down to this 12, 13. That'll be 13. And he still has 2 fires left. He can shoot twice. So he's going to enter that square, check for panic. He does not panic. Now we reveal the zombie value. And it's a 6. So he's got to roll better than a 6 with 2 die. And he rolls a 3. Okay? So that's his 4th fire. He's going to fire the 5th time. Check for panic, and he panics. So now he's going to remain panicked for the rest of the turn. And he's, unfortunately, in this square with this zombie. So that's going to conclude the human player turn for turn 2. Now we'll do the zombie turn. Now the first thing we do, other than turn 1, is there's also a hidden zombie situation in this game. Normally, if it was a 2-player game, the zombie player would have written down on a piece of paper the square numbers where he would be placing his hidden zombies. And if a human player entered that square, that zombie unit would be activated. But in the solitaire version, we use a chart. And we use this one down here that my thumb's pointing at. We'll roll 2 die, and that'll determine where the hidden zombie goes. So The first die for me is going to be the black one. So the black one's a 4 and the white one's a 4. So the first die is a 4 and the second one's a 4. And, excuse me, the number is a 9 there. And it says, it's the last digit of identity number of the square in which the hidden zombie is placed. No hidden zombie. If there was a, no number there, then no hidden zombie would be placed. Now, it tells you that the hidden zombie must be placed in the solitaire version. It's placed in the square containing the number. In our case, it was a 9, closest to the last digit, closest, and we're going to take this one, closest to the character that moved or shot or whatever. And in this case, that would be right here. Okay, that's 169. So that's the, excuse me, hidden zombie phase. Now we do the Berserk. There's going to be 2 zombie units that check to see if they go Berserk. Well, no, that's not true anymore because there was no movement up here. It's really just this unit. We roll 1 die on a 4 or less, it becomes Berserk, and it does. Now, all that really means is it can move twice, 2 squares instead of 1. But right now, it can't move at all because it's involved in combat with Peter here. Okay, so that's the end of the zombie Berserk phase. The next, we have the zombie reaction movement phase. And the hidden zombie can move in reaction to Peter's movement through this area. So it'll move there. And that's the only one. Oh, no, actually, this one can too because it saw the movement through the open door. So there. So he's kind of cornered right now. Okay, and that'll conclude the zombie reaction movement phase. Now we have the free zombie movement phase. We roll 1 die, and that's a 6. So there are 6 units that are going to move in free movement. And really, it's going to be, let's see. This guy's going to move down this way. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's see, 6. Okay. So that ends the free movement phase. Now we have the zombie attack phase. And let's see. So the first thing that Peter can do is check for, or he can shoot at the zombie. Oh, no, he can't because he's stunned. Right? So he can't. Or no, he's panicked. He's not stunned. He's panicked. All the same, he can't shoot for the can't shoot or move for the remainder of the turn. So he can't even defend himself as the zombie unit attacks. Now, this zombie unit was a, what was it? It was a 6. So we consult the chart again and roll 2 die, and we use this column. Whoops, we use this column here. I'm going to roll 2 die. We roll a 5 under the 5 and 6 column, and he's stunned. Now it says if the character is already infected or stunned, he is killed. Well, he's not infected or stunned. He's just panicked, but now he's stunned. Okay, and that concludes that attack there. Now we have the zombie generation phase. We roll 2 die. The black die is going to be my first digit. We roll a pair of 1s, and consulting the hidden zombie, the zombie entrance table on a 2, zombies will enter north and west. Oh, and I did make a mistake here. I'm going to have to take one of these movements back because the free movement, any zombie that is at a door must move if it can. And the reason being is because these 2 zombies that I'm going to place, that one needs to go there. So we got to try to keep that door clear. And what was that? North and west? North and west. All right. So that's the end of the zombie generation phase and the end of the turn. So there we had 2 full turns of this game. Not a lot has happened so far, but it looks like Roger's plans are going to change now. He's not going to, go up to the west door. He's going to have to come down here, try to fight through these zombies to try to help Peter, to get Peter unstunned. And I don't think I turned his counter over. Yes, I did. Okay. Because Peter can't do anything right now. So I'm going to play the rest of the game off camera. Excuse me. And I'll be back with another video as an after action report. And also coming down the road, we got the league introduction of the Bantam Battles American Football League, the Baffle. Also the Four Against Darkness campaign, the adventures of the Circle of the Frosty Crow continue. And another thing coming down the road that I'm really excited about is a solo World War II era war game called The Way of the Warrior. That's going to come down the road as well. But the next video will be I'll finish playing the game, and the next video will be the after action report for this game, Dawn of the Dead. A lot of fun game. It's just very challenging. As you can see, I haven't really been able to do a whole lot. Eliminated a few zombie units, but they regenerated anyway, right? Okay, so that's going to do it for this video. Until next time, take care.